Hey Ray, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and this is the first of a series of videos on Postgres and SQL. Now, first thing you want to do is you want to install Postgres. So you just would want to Google install Postgres in your particular operating system. Now, I'm using Ubuntu, specifically Xubuntu. So in that case, there is one little quirk I want to make sure I point out if you're using Linux. I've never installed it on Windows, so I don't really know the ins and outs of what you'll have to deal with on Windows. And then on Mac, I think it just kind of works. But if you are downloading it on Linux, okay, keep this in mind. So let me just get out of Postgres. What happens is that when you first install Postgres, let's say you have a username, you're using a non-root user, okay? What happens is that Postgres creates a new user on your Linux. And that's the only, and basically Postgres's users are linked to your Ubuntu users or your Linux users. So every Linux user has a Postgres, can have a Postgres account, and their usernames have to match. So you'll notice that you won't be able to get Postgres to work initially when you install it. The reason is because you're still under your username. What you need to do is switch user to Postgres. Okay, and Postgres should have the same password that you have on your normal. Okay, you're going to switch user, so now you see on Postgres is my username. And then from there, you can actually go use Postgres. PSQL is the command to open up Postgres. And then what you're going to want to do is create a user that matches your normal username. So for me, it was like create user Alex Merced, password, and then in quotations, you would put the password and then a colon. You would create the user, and I've already done it, so I'm not going to hit enter. But you would run that command, create the user, and then you would need to alter user, Alex Merced in my case, with, let me just confirm that's with, right over here, yep, with super user. And now I'll make that user a super user, so that way you can add databases without you having to switch to Postgres all the time. Or you could just switch to Postgres and create users per database. Okay, and then when you want to quit Postgres, you'll just hit /q. Okay, so I'm gonna switch back to Alex Merced. Okay, and now I'm able to log in. Okay, on my username. Okay, cool. Now, if I want to see what databases are available, I would just do /l. So this will show me all the databases that are currently on my install of Postgres. Okay, so you get a database that's always under your username. So I have one that's under Alex Merced, one that's under the Postgres user. There's always like a template, 0 and 1, which are just some sort of default databases. So those are the databases that comes out of the box. Okay. Now, if I want to create a database, okay, yeah, that's where I wanted to be. What you do is whenever you get to these lists, you just get out by hitting Q. And that takes you back to the normal screen. Now, if I want to take a look at all the different commands, there's two things I can do. I can do /, which will show me Postgres commands that are specific to Postgres. Okay, and this just really is useful for like seeing like lists of things, like lists of tables, lists of databases. These commands are always like / some lowercase letter. Okay, and then I hit Q to get out of that list. Now if I do /h, it shows me all the SQL commands. Okay, and then here I can see all the different SQL commands I may want to use. Okay, doesn't really give me any kind of syntax or context, so you have to Google that. So with that, if you go online, you'll find some useful SQL cheat sheets to help you work your way through this. Okay, so that's fun. But let's create a database. So let's say create database test. We'll just call it test. And then usually you have to always end your SQL commands with a semicolon. They're very strict about that. So let's do that. And that's generally, if you succeeded, you won't have an error. And see, it says it'll just repeat what you just did. So I created a database. So now if I do /l, okay, I see there's the test database. Now I want to connect to that database so I can work out of there. So I should be able to hit /c which means to connect. It's a Postgres command. And that should just be able to type in the name of the database. You are now connected to database test as user Alex Merced. Okay, so I connected to test. Now I can run commands inside of test. Cool. Now what I'd like to do is create a table. Okay, so I'm gonna write create table, and this table is gonna be called first table. Okay, and then after that, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna do a parentheses with all my field names. But let's just refer to our cheat sheet just to make sure. So I'm gonna refer to this one over here. Bring data from a table. We'll get back to that. Managing views. Where is the creating table? Oh, here it is. Create table. Okay. Yeah, so you create table with a name, and then it's parentheses with all your fields separated by commas. Cool. Okay. So first table, parentheses, we're going to have an ID field. It's always good to have an ID field, which is going to be a serial. Okay, and let me just refer to that one again. Yeah. And then we want to make that a primary key. So serial means it's going to be a serial number, so it's going to start with 1. And go every time you make a new record, automatically go the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5. So that way everything has a unique ID. But you also want to make it your primary key. There always has to be one primary key. It's just the field that is unique for every record. So that way you can uniquely identify each individual record. So ID's primary key. We're going to say we're going to have a name record, which is just going to be a var char. So when you're doing a string or letters, it's not string as it is in like everything else. It's varchar. And then you do in varchar, you do parentheses with how many characters it can be. So I'm going to do with a string basically of up to 30 characters. Okay. And once you specify the type, you can do all sorts of other commands like required or unique. So required means you have to put it in there. So you can't leave it null. Unique means it has to be different than all the other ones. So you can put all these little specifications. I'm not going to do that here. I'm going to keep it simple. And we just do name and age, which will be, I'm pretty sure it's just integer. But let's just double check. Okay. Okay, so here they're doing just numeric. Okay. I think that means up to 10 is up to 2 decimal places. But easiest way to look at it, let's look up SQL types or Postgres types or data types. Because there's just different SQL databases. So if you're using like MariaDB, MySQL, some of the other ones, you're gonna have slightly different types available to you. Most of it's the same, but there are some different ones. So let's see here, data types. So you just want to refer to it, just making sure that you use it, because you might be used to one because you were doing a lot of like, let's say WordPress, and you were using MySQL databases because you were using like XAMPP or something. Okay. Okay, so here's what we're looking for: integer. So, and again, there's different ones just because they allow different sizing as far as what numbers can be part of them. I would say most of the time, integer does most of what I need to do. Decimal, if you need a decimal number. Numeric, here you can get a little bit more specific, as you saw in the example. And there's a whole bunch of other ones. So, you can go in here and look for what you're looking for. We'll keep this up as we work through. Okay, so we're going to have age as integer. And that'll be it. Now I need to put a semicolon. Well, let me put a semicolon. No. What did it do? Okay, for some reason it decided to freak out. So there we go. Okay, so let's just try that again. Create table first. Usually you type the commands in uppercase. You don't have to, but it makes it clear like what are your instructions versus what are the built-in SQL commands. So create table first. And again, we're going to have an ID field, which is going to be serial and primary key. And then we're going to have let me just double check if primary key is one word. As you can tell, I'm not oftentimes doing SQL from the command line. Actually, I like to use things like Next or TypeORM to interact with my SQL databases, but it's always good to interact. Yeah, 2 words, just double checking. Nope, we don't need to be there. Primary key, name var char 30, serial primary key, age integer. Then we close the parentheses, we put the semicolon. I don't know why it does that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit enter, and it created the table successfully. Good. And then if I go like this, yeah, that looks fine. Cool. Now I think I should be able to take a look at the tables by hitting /DT for display tables. And I don't see the table, so let's double check. Oh, should be over here. List tables. And I did /?. Here we go. List tables. /DT, that's what I said. I think we have to add data to the table first. Okay, so Q. Oh no, there it is. The name, that was the first one it shows. First table. Okay, it's a public. It's named first. It's a table, and I made it. Cool. So now we want to insert a record. So we're going to say insert. Okay, and that should be like insert something into table. So let's go back over here. No, not select. I want to insert. And here we go. Insert. So insert into, then there's the table, and then the values. Got it. Cool. So we're going to say insert. Okay, and we want to insert into the table we just created, which was first. Now you have to specify. You can specify what fields you want. If you don't, then it's going to assume that you're doing all the fields in the order that you created them in your when you define the table. So I'm going to specify that. I'm not going to specify ID. That's automatic. So I'm just going to specify first, and I'm going to specify age or name, then age. Okay. So those are the fields I am going to specify. And then the values I'm going to specify. And do I need to put that in parentheses? Let's see here. Yes. Okay. Okay. Values. And values. So the first one will be a string, so that's Alex. I think that has to be in quotation marks. Alex. And then age 34. So there we go. We're saying insert into first, and the fields of name and age, values, Alex and 34. That should work, and it worked. Okay, so let's find, let's actually display that. Okay. So let's do a query. Okay, and here's where we start using the select keyword, which means basically the show, the query. Okay. So if I do select, then I put an asterisk, that means select all from, and then the table that we were selecting from first. So I'm saying select all from first. So then if I hit enter, it should just show me that one. Oh, I forgot the semicolon. There we go. And see, there's just one property, Alex. Cool, let's insert some more. Insert. Insert into first, but now I'm going to do it in a different order. I want to put the name, the age first, then the name. Okay, values, and then I can insert multiple values. So I can be here, age 50, Bob. Then I do a comma. Age 60, Steve. And then I put a semicolon. And there, see, I inserted 2 records. And now if I run that select again, and see, it all entered the data into the right fields, because it has to be, I can change what order I do the fields in, long as they match in my statement. Okay, cool. I think that is a good first lesson in SQL. I will see you guys in the next video. Okay, once you feel comfortable with just sort of the basics of SQL, then it's about connecting SQL to your project. For that, I would watch my video series on the next. If you're talking about JavaScript project, then check out my video on Next, the next query builder. Or you can use full TS, which uses TypeOM built in, which is a backend framework in JavaScript. And generally, every backend framework will have some sort of tool for you to connect your Postgres database or whatever SQL database you're using to your project. And then instead of you putting in all these commands here, you just do them through whatever ORM they use. But this helps you understand what's going on in SQL, so you can better use something like an ORM, which allows you to sort of interact with that SQL database, and it does a lot of these commands for you under the hood. But again, understanding the behavior of the core commands allows you to understand the behavior of the ORM better and use it more effectively. So my name is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Have a great day and enjoy.